Hello guys, good morning. Welcome back to yet another video, folks. Today we are predicting the Championship week 2 for the Football League. I know it's going to be a very busy day, folks. We've got League 1 and League 2 and also the Premier League match fixtures still coming thick and fast. But we've still got Wrexham versus West Brom, Portsmouth versus Norwich, Derby County against Coventry, Bristol City against Charlton, Millwall against Middlesbrough, Watford against QPR, Swansea City versus Sheffield United, and Blackburn will face Birmingham, and Preston versus Leicester, Sheffield Wednesday versus Stoke, Hull versus Oxford, and Ipswich takes on Southampton. So let's move on. Before we get into the YouTube channel, please hit the subscribe button and thumbs up, and it's free to do. Let's get the action underway. First up, Wrexham will face West Brom. Wrexham just coming on the back of a 2-1 defeat against Southampton, but and West Brom coming on the back of a 1-0 win over Blackburn Rovers and a 1-1 draw, and lost in penalties by Derby County. It's been a typical dramatic start to 2025-26 season for Wrexham, as he now prepared to welcome West Bromwich Albion to the racecourse ground this weekend. On the opening day of the campaign, Wrexham suffered a 2-1 loss to just relegated Southampton at St Mary's in a game which the Red Dragons were ahead until 90th minute, but they were then behind midweek, losing 3-1 at home to Hull City before a late Ollie Palmer brace took the game to penalties, which they managed to win the cup. But West Bromwich Albion have embarked upon the summer of change this season, but with Ryan Mason having been appointed in a dugout. But the Baggies managed to edge past Blackburn Rovers by a 1-0 on the opening day of the campaign, courtesy of a 15th minute striker scored by Northern Ireland international midfielder Isaac Price. Since then, Albion were beaten on penalties in the EFL Cup by Derby County. This one is to be expected even quite a fair, and it could be no surprise for a low scoring clash in North Wales. I'm going for Wrexham to beat West Brom 2-1. Right, let's just move on to Fratton Park. Portsmouth 2025-26 started very differently from these two sides, with Portsmouth winning the opening day of last weekend, while as Norwich suffered a defeat. Last weekend, Portsmouth began their campaign with an impressive performance as they defeated Oxford United by 1-0 at the Castle Stadium, thanks to a winning goal by Adrian Segnittink. But since then, Pompey have suffered a surprising loss to League 1 side Reading at Fratton Park in the first round of the EFL Cup. In contrast, Norwich City managed to pull off a 2-1 victory over Norwich at Figure Road in midweek. Canaries, after a busy began their season disappointingly though, but as they suffered a 2-1 loss at home to Millwall on the opening day, and Norwich may be set for a couple of months of teething issues when starting of this season, with Liam Manning's football isn't perfect, but it can be quite dull and tenders, but the Pompey will be content with that at home, backing them to begin back-to-back victories, and would have been a reasonable bet. I'm going for Portsmouth to win 1-0 or 2-1. Will they back it up? Yeah. Derby County will face Coventry. John Instance and his Derby County side progressed into the second round of the EFL Cup in midweek, alongside Coventry City, who edged past Luton Town on the other day. On the opening day of the campaign, Derby County took the lead very much against the run of play at Bet365 Stadium against Stoke City, and with Colton Morris have put the Rams ahead before the Potters ran out of 3-1 winners with 2 stoppage time goals. They defeated West Bromwich Albion on penalties in the cup on the other day, and Coventry, on the other hand, managed to win inside 90 minutes with Ellis Sims scoring the goal of the game in the 57th minute against Luton Town at the Coventry Building Associated State Arena. And the Sky Blues began their 2025-26 Championship season with a goalless draw against Hull City, but at home last weekend. But it is a bit of a derby, all belted, that is pushing it between two sides, but seemingly focus on control and defence at the moment. And it may not be a thriller for the neutral at Pride Park, but I'm going for 2-1 for Derby County. 2-1 for Derby. Right. Millwall against Glenn Durrant's team, Middlesbrough. These two sides have began with a slender but impressive victories on the opening day of the campaign last weekend, as Millwall now take on Middlesbrough at the Den. Millwall missed out on the top six and playoff places last season, but the former Norwich City boss, Alex Neil, is expected to continue the Lions' push for the Premier League football in the very near future. They began their campaign with a 2-1 victory at Carrow Road on the opening day of the season before an EFL Cup win in midweek against Newport County. Over the summer, the former Luton Town boss, Rob Edwards, have replaced Michael Carrick at Middlesbrough, and the Smoggers have underperformed over the last couple of seasons, but they did their season with a defeat of Swansea City last weekend, being hammered 4-0 in League One by Doncaster Rovers in the Cup in midweek. Middlesbrough shown signs of Edwards' style last week, but Millwall are expected to avoid defeat against a team that lacking cohesion, but especially with that home advantage. I'm going for Millwall to win 2-1. 2-1. Bristol City against Charlton. Charlton just coming on the back of a 3-0 win over Stevenage and a 2-1 win. And a 1-0 win over Watford, especially scored in the 94th minute. And Bristol City just coming on the back of the rich vein of form. Nathan Jones for Charlton, but I'm going for Bristol City to win 2-1. Right, Watford will face QPR. I'm going for QPR. I'm going for a 1-1 draw at the end. Yeah. Let's see. Swansea City against Sheffield United. Sheffield United lost in the EFL Cup first round against Birmingham, and they were smashed 4-1 against Bristol City. Alan Sheeran. Swansea City won. They comfortably beat Crawley Town by 3-1 in the cup, and then gave him the job with a narrow loss to Middlesbrough. But I'm going for Swansea here by 2-1, and that is a good safe bet to go. Blackburn will face Birmingham. Well, I'm going for a Birmingham win because they're in great form at the minute. A lot of people think that it should be probably potentially challenging for the playoffs, but I'm going for Birmingham to win 1-0 or 2-0 or so, or 2-1, something like that. And then Preston versus Leicester. I'm going for Leicester to win 2-1, but overly just. I think Preston are a good side, but I think they will push Leicester very close. And Sheffield Wednesday will face Stoke City. But again, Sheffield Wednesday are a bit of a mess at the moment. Yes, they survived against Bolton Wanderers on penalties on the EFL Cup, but Stoke City coming on the back of a 3-1 win over Derby County and edged out Warsaw on the penalties as well. But I'm going for Stoke to win 2-1. And then Hull will face Oxford. Hull will face Oxford. A lot between is a really hard one to call, but I'm sticking with a 1-1 draw. Right, the game of the weekend. Ipswich Town and Southampton came from the Premier League last season, and two teams have now faced off each other in the second tier at Portman Road. Ipswich Town have again enjoyed an impressive summer transfer window. They have an extremely strong squad, and Tractor Boys began their 2025-26 season with a 1-1 draw against Birmingham City, which he put in a poor performance and Natcher Point with a controversial late penalty scored by George First. But Kieran McKenna's side have backed them up with a penalty shootout loss to League Two side Bromley in the first round on the EFL Cup. In contrast, Southampton edged past Northampton Town by a goal to nil. Sixfields, after a few days coming from a goal down, later on to defeat Wrexham by 2 goals to 1 in the second half of stoppage time. Ipswich have a strong squad and it should be more than settled in the Saints, but Southampton have shown quality, but I have to throw on late. So both teams scoring seems to be a good bet in Suffolk, but I'm going for 2-1 to Ipswich. That I think they need to win to get them off and running. So that's my predictions then for the Championship Week 2. Leave on your comments below and we'll see you in the next one. Bye. Peace out. So Chris Dobie beats Stephen Bunting 6-3. Luke Humphreys beats Damon Heta 6-2. And Gerwin Price had a brilliant game against Josh Rock, including that 137 checkout. And still to come, we've got Luke Littler will face Mike De Decker. Right, that's the New Zealand Darts Masters. But anyway, bye, stay safe, and have a busy day. Don't do anything silly. Just be in your best behaviour. Bye.